Well, hey guys, I'm here today with Philip Webb and Anthony Webb. Now, here's some names that are absolutely synonymous with Melbourne real estate. Guys, thank you so much for giving us a few moments now. We're in an amazing period that no one really saw coming, and I think it's going to be interesting to get some of your insights, just as how you see, I suppose, the industry moving forward. What are the effects on it day to day? Philip, maybe we might start with you and just have a bit of a chat about what you've seen in your years. I don't know how many years exactly you've been operating, but certainly you've seen a lot. You would have seen the sky-high interest rates, no doubt the dot-com boom and GFC and all those sort of happenings. What sort of learnings can we take from there, and what sort of can we bring that into today, and how can we learn from those experiences? Obviously, no one saw COVID coming, but is there anything that's relevant from them that we can utilise today and moving forward in these coming months?
Look, I think absolutely. The number one thing is we've got to stay flexible. We've got to go into survival mode. We've got to be looking for opportunities, and I think there'll be still quite a lot of opportunities in the few months ahead. And, we have to keep our company fairly liquid in more ways than one, but fluid as well, because, there's a lot of changes that are taking place.
Yeah, certainly survival's been talked about an awful lot. When you say there's opportunities, what are some of those opportunities? Where do you see it? How do you see those coming about?
I think having a good plan in place, sitting down and having a damn good think about where you're at and what's happening around you, and just what we could do a little bit differently to our opposition and every other agent, and just make the most of this difficult market, because there will be opportunities.
Is there anything that you might like to highlight as an opportunity that you see, or that you've got a strategy around that you could share with us now?
I think maintaining our staff is a big one. We're very keen that we look after all of our staff, and the government came through very nicely last night, and I think what they have come up with is a fantastic thing, and something that will enable us all to have a think about the longevity of our business. But, our people are what it's all about. And, we've got about 130 staff across our business, quite a lot in property management as well as sales, and they're all pretty important. And in this market, the important ones are even more important than what they were before.
Sure. All right. Can you just talk to a little bit about what the government has offered and how you see that playing out and the benefits to your business?
I think it's just confidence. I think it's just confidence that we know that down the track, even if we struggle, I mean, one of our biggest difficulties as of last night is that we haven't dropped by 30%. And so therefore we're not going to be able to avail ourselves of what has been on offer yet. But, the time will come, and probably the time has come for a lot of businesses. And it's just sensational that, you're going to be able to use the program that's been put forward last night for your own business, to keep a link with your staff, to keep them on, and to keep that link maybe over the next 6 months.
Yeah. Okay. So just thinking about that, and obviously you're talking about, you've got a massive staff base there. It was 130 staff, I think you said. It's really, really important to sort of maintain culture at this time. And I know that when you're working in office day to day, people are fronting up, 8 a.m., 9 a.m. every morning. They're ready for work. They're seeing you. There's an amount of accountability that just, comes walking in the front door. When you move to that sort of work from home scenario, how do you maintain culture? How do you drive accountability, and how do you still drive the productivity with the staff when you're not there physically day to day? How do we keep, and especially salespeople, I know as a salesperson myself, it's hard. You want to be around other people, iron sharpens iron. You want to make sure you're in that sort of competitive environment and writing the figures and ringing the bell, all those sort of things. But how do you guys drive that through culture and keeping sales accountable?
I think it's really hard. Firstly, we've had salespeople that are still wanting to come in. They don't want to leave the office because, like you said, they want to be around like-minded people. So we've really had to come up with some ways that we can keep them in contact with each other. So, we've got our own internal WhatsApp groups. We've got a closed Facebook page for the whole entire team. We've been holding meetings on Zoom and using FaceTime for one-on-ones, and really just trying to keep the communication as much as we possibly can. Doing a lot of internal videos for the team, so they're not having to read through massive swaths of information. I think every email we get's about 3 pages long at the moment. They're all titled COVID-19, and I think a lot of people are getting sick of it. So
absolutely,
we're just really trying to up our communication with the team to sort of keep that culture going. I think in terms of accountability, I think we do have to place a lot of trust in our team. Ultimately, they are still running their business within our business. we can certainly do checks from the back end of our CRM or from the back of our property management platform and really sort of check in on them. And we're actually finding, particularly for property management, they're actually being a lot more productive at home. They're not getting as many interruptions and things like that.
Okay, so property management is more effective. Speak to a little bit about the salespeople. You mentioned that you've got a couple of things going with the WhatsApp, using that platform to communicate, and you've got a Facebook page, Zoom videos. Obviously, that's what kind of we're all doing. Would have been nice to buy shares in those guys 6 months ago. But just thinking about what sort of information are you sharing in the WhatsApp and Facebook page? Is that culture pieces, or is that more about just internal comms?
I think WhatsApp's probably more jokes, laughing, having a good time, patting people on the back. It's sort of more an informal area where they can have a bit of fun with each other. Right. I think Zoom has been great for sales meetings. You can have everyone sort of come in, you can see faces, you can ask questions and be quite interactive. And the closed Facebook group we've been really using to get information across the whole team. So just about everyone on the team has got a Facebook account. We all pretty much do. So it's a really good way to share birthdays, share successes, and sort of give people a communal pat on the back.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And so the salespeople, how do we keep them motivated in this time? Obviously, it's challenging. You can't do open homes, so that's gone. Private inspections are still there, but auctions, public auction as an auctioneer, it's frustrating. So how do we motivate the salespeople moving forward?
Well, look, I date back pre a lot of auctions, and something like 50 years ago, an open for inspection was unheard of and unknown. So you used to put buyers in your car and take them to houses. And today that's what you've got to do again, is to meet people at the houses and to show them through, private inspections. And if you have to line up a few in a row so that you've got social distancing, that's fine. But, you just got to get people through properties. You've got to get in touch with people. You've got to talk to people and use the capabilities that, we're all gearing up with online properties and online videos of every property and making sure that's just part of our kit bag now.
Okay. Can we talk a little bit about what has been the response from your buying and also your selling public? So thinking about the prospective sellers that you might have in the database and in the pipeline, how are they reacting to the fact that your guys are still wanting to get out there and do appraisals and maintain contact? What's the response around that, and how do you overcome some of those challenges, indeed, if there are challenges?
I think it's been really hit and miss. I think some vendors have been fine with it. They clearly need to sell their property because perhaps they're purchased. We're doing everything we can to comply with all the COVID hygiene things. So hand sanitizer, gloves, people want to put boots on as they go through. Sales team are the only ones that are opening doors, opening cupboards and switching on lights. So I think that's given a lot of our vendors a peace of mind. We've certainly had some difficulty with some tenants who haven't been happy with us to come through. And then we've certainly had some vendors that have decided that now is not the right time to put their property on the market. So I think off market is something that we need to become really good at. And we focused before about buyers, but buyers are critical. If you have a buyer that needs to buy a property at the moment, they have a genuine need to move. So we've got to try and get them through every single property we have.
I think you're right. I think there's still a lot of buyers in the market, and those, especially walking around with pre-approvals, they're still looking to buy something, before the situation changes. Have you seen any sort of real bargain hunters in the market? Has that changed, or are people still being reasonable with their offers? And are they still sort of, willing to talk at the right level and negotiate at the right level?
Yeah, we're certainly seeing a few more bargain hunters out there. I think a lot of the buyers are trying it on at the moment. So they're coming in and trying to start their negotiations at a really low point. I don't think the values of properties have changed, particularly not in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. So it's sometimes meaning the negotiations are stretching out. Instead of being 24 hours, maybe it's 48 hours. But we're seeing prices are really still quite strong because there's not a whole lot of properties coming to market right now being advertised.
Okay, so confidence.
A lot of buyers are seeing this as a great opportunity. So, if you're a cashed up buyer or you've got your finance, they're seeing it as a huge opportunity, and they're out there and they're nicking around and they're trying to find the right property, because just like the share market's been bouncing around, I believe the property market will continue to rise over this year as well.
It's interesting. So there's probably as many buyers in the market taking advantage of less competition. as a word to vendors, if they were watching on, what would your encouragement be around taking advantage of these circumstances now with less competition? Does it mean that your home is more highly regarded? Is there a better chance of a premium price? Is there a chance that we can still sell at a reasonable level, or indeed are we dealing with more of the bargain basement buyers?
Well, there'll be bargain basement buyers out there. There always is. I mean, the market's half full of people like that all the time. And look, sometimes they get opportunities, sometimes they don't. But in today's market, there's not a lot of stock. In the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, the stock levels are fairly low. So anyone selling is likely to open the doors to quite a lot of buyers. I think it's a good time to sell. It's a different time to what most people think about selling. And I think it will be a good time to try the market out and go on the market to sell.
I agree with you. So what are some of the challenges in the property management side of the business? What's been going on there? There would have been people claiming hardship, not wanting to pay their rent, and obviously a real estate business needs to transact on the property management side to be effective and to have an effective rent roll. What are some of the challenges there?
We're getting a lot of requests for those sort of things. I think people are having a go. I think, your biggest challenge is, everybody is going to look for this as an opportunity to maybe get a reduction in rent or to do something that is in their interest. Now, the truth is there's some people that have lost jobs because of this. Well, the number one thing your property managers would be doing or should be doing is getting them to send proof of that they have been terminated or that there is a loss, and so that we can then talk to the landlords about that. And then, sometimes they will obviously be available for these government handouts that have come along.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. There are going to be genuine cases, and there's also people trying it on, unfortunately. But that will always be the case, and that's just a challenge we've got to overcome. But you're saying now that your property management team's actually more effective working from home. Do you see that working from home side of things as something that might change in the future? Are we now in a position where, hey, we can actually monitor the effectiveness of the property managers or indeed all of our staff? We can actually drive productivity, drive accountability. Is it something where we see, the death of the large office? Can more people work at home? Can we still be effective in that way? Or do you think it's better to have the team on site for culture, for morale?
Well, I got to tell you that for nearly 50 years, I've been suggesting that we've got to keep an eye on everybody. We've got to work from an office and so forth. But, we're working from home at the moment. We've been doing it on and off for the last 2 weeks, and it is working very well. And I think it is exciting. It could be one of the best things that come out of this virus, that we learn new ways to operate, because some of us older people are not used to having all their staff working from home. And the amount of productivity coming out is quite fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. So the effects on the economy are going to be pretty devastating. Mums and dads are going to sell now who might have lost jobs. We'll see a lot of distressed sales. We'll see a lot of sales that aren't fun circumstances. People are going to be watching their dollars even more closely over these coming months and the next, maybe even couple of years. Who knows how long the effects of this will take hold. What does the offering from Homely look like for you guys? How is competition important in this space and what we're doing here?
I think competition online is definitely important, because I think everyone goes to their own place to seek information. I think where I think Homely have been brilliant is the fact that they've really gotten hyperlocal. So the blogs about areas, the information about cafes, parks, it does allow buyers to get so much more information than a lot of your standard websites. So I think the offering Homely's got is actually something that's quite different. It's not just a property online, but there's information about the area in which the people are buying in. And I think that's going to be critical if we're going to be selling properties online.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Guys, thank you so much for giving us any insight. Is there any final things that you might like to say? Obviously we talked about survival of the fittest over the next couple of months. We've talked about effectiveness, productivity, accountability, those sort of things. Is there anything else you want to cover off on? Any sort of tips that you might give smaller offices? I think what's exciting about it, just to interrupt myself there, is that there is an enormous appetite for people wanting to help out other businesses. We all want to see this through. We want this thing to get past. We want our economy to recover. What else can you offer there on that front? Is it a word of encouragement, or is it just any tips that these guys might need? Is it just stay strong? Where do you see it?
Look, I think everyone's got to hang in there. I mean, I have no doubt that most agents have the capability of getting through this and coming through it pretty well. You've got to adapt, you've got to work hard, you've got to think hard, and you've got to plan. And if you're doing all of that, I think the opportunities are going to be there for you. The buyers are still going to want to buy property. You're still going to have people wanting to rent properties. So what's changed? It just might be a bit of a problem in getting people through houses for a little bit, or dealing with people when, if we're in a lockdown or something like that. But the basics are still there, and real estate will be fine.
Awesome. Anthony, any last words for us?
No, I concur with him. I think we've just got to keep pushing and doing everything that we possibly can.
Yeah, cool. Hey guys, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of time. I know it's busy. I know you're trying to keep the troops rallied and keep moving forward. So thanks for giving us a few minutes, and we'll see you out there in the trenches.
No worries.
Thank you. All the best.
Thanks, guys.